Apologize to the choir because someone finally let me know last week that I tend to do my reflection with my backs to you, and so I'm turning my chair so that you can't sleep as easily as you might. Please pray with me. May these words that I speak be grounded in my soul, encouraged by the God presence in me. And may these words that you hear be captured by your soul, enlivened by the God presence in you. Amen. I must begin by confessing that I have felt like this for the last couple of weeks. I have allowed the world events to diminish my sense of hope. I have been unable to watch or even listen to the news. I have refrained from or become silent in any conversation about US politics, UK Brexit, Russian aggression, and even Justin Trudeau's blunderings and Kevin O'Leary's leadership announcement. I am reasonably sure that this is why I have felt so exhausted the last few weeks. I am also reasonably sure that this is why I haven't made a decent curling shot for weeks. And I am reasonably sure this is why I have even begun to question my sense of purpose in my life and my work. The unfortunate result of this is that my heart has become closed, and that closing down of my heart space has actually contributed to the fear and hate in the world, rather than to rebuke that hate and fear with love. Perhaps some of you can relate to that. Perhaps that's been your experience of the last few weeks as well. And so as this week draws to a close, I find the God presence in me being smothered by my own fear and anger and anxiety. And yet, deep within, I also recognize this is happening to me, to my soul. And I recognize that because the God presence, the light, the divine love within me and within each of you is immortal, is indestructible, and is not defeatable. I know it's not a word, but I'm going to use it anyway. And that's true despite my and our best efforts to do just that, to smother. Richard Rohr offers this. He says, divine love, that is God's self, is an absolute open-heartedness. When you're in that space, your energy flows outward and expands. When you're not in that space, your energy sucks in. In me, I become despondent, and I miss curling shots. That's my words, not Rohr's. I don't think he curls. He continues, it's all about who did me wrong, and why I don't like those people, and how my aunt never talks to me, and why so-and-so is a jerk. He continues, you have to deliberately and consciously choose to love and not hate or fear. Because people haven't been taught that, we have even decent people in our countries, in our political parties, and even in leadership positions in our churches who are more at home with hate and fear than they are with love, and they don't even know it. I agree with Rohr that we need to deliberately and consciously choose love, not hate and fear. It is what I find truly inspiring in the story from Matthew's Gospel that we heard read this morning, that Joan read for us. John the Baptist has been the leader of this movement in Galilee, this movement of love against a system of hate and fear. He is arrested. He is arrested because they want to snuff out this movement. And his followers, including Jesus, are faced with a tough decision. Do we run away? Do we put our heads in the sand? Or do we continue love's march? Jesus deliberately and consciously chooses love. He knows in his heart that even though love is the harder path, the riskier path, it is the only way to be the presence of God in the world. The fishermen Jesus calls to march with him respond immediately because they too have been followers of John and chose in this moment, finally, to step forward in love rather than to retreat to their nets in fear. And the reality is that there is an undeniable joy when we open our hearts in deep love. It is our deliberate and our conscious embrace of our immortal diamond, of our God Spirit within us, that causes us to smile, love-filled in a world of fear. This is only possible when we attend to and nourish our spiritual life. I love this line. Richard Rohr says, spirituality is whatever it takes to keep your heart space open. Spirituality is whatever it takes to keep your heart space open. That is daily constant work because your ego and the events of life want to close it down. The voices in the dominant culture tell you to judge, dismiss, hate, and fear. If you don't have some spiritual practice that has kept your heart open in hell, I know you're going to be a grumpy old woman or a grumpy old man. By the last third of life, negativity is all you will have left. Each morning we need to take our heart temperature, along with our blood pressure and all the other things that we do, to take our heart temperature, observing if our energy is loving and flowing outward or negative and sucking in. It is only in the flow of love that we can smile unabashedly like this character on the screen. No matter what the circumstance, no matter what our situation. And the good news is, and this is not, well, it is a cliche, but the good news is we are not alone. Our creed begins with those words because it's true. We are not alone, both in terms of the eternal presence of love of God that is in each of us, and also realizing that there are many, many other human beings, and those numbers are growing even as I am speaking, marching on the same path. We can be and need to be light in the world. It is within our power to shine. Each one of us needs to join the march for love. I just love the end of the passage in Matthew that we heard this morning. It says, Jesus went through Galilee proclaiming the good news of love. And great crowds followed him from Galilee, the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and from beyond the Jordan. This was the march for love, a willingness to stand in the midst of a regime of oppression, fear, and hate, to stand open-hearted. Once again, I turn to Rohr. The gospel demands a great deal of us. It calls us to be a perennially unpopular, it calls us to a perennially unpopular and unselfish path. Little wonder Jesus said, the world's going to hate you. When you can no longer play the game of judging, labeling, and punishing others, you will quickly become the outsider at most every cocktail party you attend. But Jesus taught us how to hold the pain of the world, until it transforms and resurrects us. This dangerous virus is what Jesus calls the hidden leaven inside the gospel. The resurrecting power of love that will keep the world from its ordinary path towards self-destruction. The God within us, our immortal diamond, allures us toward the great love, the heart of God that permeates the entire cosmos, even in the places where we don't think it exists. We are being called to an open-heartedness, and in a world more and more transfixed by fear and hate, to join the crowd, both ancient and present, in the beautiful, beautiful march for love. Amen.